You know, I talk about games all the time, but I never really go into the consoles themselves. They're what we play video games on. Well, back in the day at least. I actually own quite a number of them, most given to me through holidays or birthdays. So in this video, I want to shine light on my favorite 10. Though I don't have every system, I do have quite the experience with the large portion. As expected, before going into this video, you should just know that my selections are solely based on my opinions and personal preference. I'm ranking them by what games I own for each system, what I liked about the console itself, and how much fun I had growing up with it. So you're not going to see objective criticisms with specs or anything like that. It's going to be a very biased list. I say that because I know how seriously people take this stuff for some reason, so if a console you like isn't on the list, I either didn't own it, didn't have any experience with it, or just didn't like it. With no more to say, let's hop right in. Number 10. Game Boy Advance SP. Yes, the SP model. After owning the original GBA for a couple of years, I loved the thing. It was my first handheld if I can remember. I didn't know the SP model existed until months before Christmas in 2004. It released February of that year, so that's a long time without even hearing about it. But I got it as a gift, and man, was it an upgrade. First of all, you could charge the thing, and yeah, my original Advance had charging, but it needed this huge battery pack to work. The SP was slim, had a nice clean finish, and it folded. That was really cool at the time. The screen also lit up, to give the perfect experience for playing my GBA games. I can just remember using this thing all Christmas Day. It's actually sad. My parents bought me this game called Backyard Football, and I played it way too much. Another thing I love is the size. Again, it's pretty slim, and when it closes, it takes the shape of a square. One complaint I do hear a lot is that it does not contain a headphone jack. I could see that being an issue, but it never bothered me at all. In fact, I never noticed that until kind of recently. However, even though I really like this system, it's the only one that completely broke on me. It was 2006, I came back from a party, the SP was about halfway charged, tried to turn it on, and nothing happened. I couldn't turn it on, I couldn't charge it. I have no idea what happened, but sadly I never played my SP again. Tragedy. Number 9. PlayStation, the Sony console that started it all. Now, the PlayStation wasn't actually mine, but it remains in my household. My fondest memories with the system consist of late nights with Crash Bandicoot 3 and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. The library was pretty great for the time and definitely still holds up in my eyes. The system also introduced me and everyone else to memory cards and the use of CDs. I thought that was unique, something pretty helpful, but also something I grew to hate over time. So thanks PlayStation. The startup screen is the prime definition of iconic, and so is the system itself. Spyro the Dragon, Tomb Raider 3, Tekken, so many classics on this one. Number 8. Dreamcast. I know, I'm sure that's very low, but honestly guys, I never owned a Dreamcast. A lot of people didn't. The only way I ever got to play this thing was at a close relative's house. I went there a lot as a kid, and my cousin and I would play tons of Dreamcast. I'm talking Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Sonic Adventure, Dead or Alive 2, two franchises I still freaking love today. I knew it was a console I'd never have growing up, because it just wasn't as popular as the other consoles. And for my age, other things appealed to me. The Dreamcast was just that really cool, mysterious system that I'd get to play on occasion. Every time I did, it was great. And yeah, go figure, today I freaking love the thing. If I owned it, I'm sure it'd be top 3. But I think it's fair to put Dreamcast at number 8. Number 7. Nintendo DS, or in my case, Nintendo DS Lite. The most hilarious thing is, I actually thought this was the dumbest looking thing ever when it got announced. 2 screens just seemed so gimmicky, and I just hoped it wouldn't make every game series I loved on GBA really stupid. Kinda how I felt about the Wii. Well, it was gimmicky, but the games were so damn good. Just when I thought I wouldn't love another handheld as much as my SP, I got a DS Lite for Christmas, and all I did was play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. No idea if that game is liked or not. I don't know what the reception of that game is, but dude, that was my life. Nintendogs, are you kidding me? WarioWare touched? Animal Crossing, Mario Hoops 3-on-3, Mario Kart DS. We even got Super Mario 64, which had the most awkward controls, but man, the system was special indeed, and was the last handheld system I truly enjoyed. The 3DS isn't bad by any means, it's just, you know, personal preference, nostalgia and such. Number 6. PlayStation 2. Yes, I'm aware that it's considered the greatest of all time, but for my life, this placement is pretty spot on. It's hard to say what I like about the PS2 that hasn't already been said. It has a massive, iconic library of games like GTA, Final Fantasy X, Kingdom Hearts, and Strike Force Bowling, and Backyard Football. just as important. My most played were definitely Tekken 4, one of my favorite fighters of all time, Soul Calibur 2, Midnight Club, Sonic Rider Zero Gravity, and GTA 3. The main reason it's not higher is because PS2 is in this extreme multi-platform era, where a lot of my favorite games were also on other systems I played over this one. Again, it's a very biased list for that reason. Another reason it's a bit lower, or higher, I don't really know what's right, than most would have it is because it's one of the very few consoles I don't own anymore. In fact, I haven't played a PS2 in about 6 years. It's a long story, but that's how it is. Number 5. Nintendo 64. Man, I love this one. The 64 is a prime example of a nostalgia console for me. It's like a gem in a way. It was my first ever console that was bought solely for me, so it has that personal value. Years ago, this would have been higher, but I gotta be realistic because my love for it is 1000% nostalgia. I was fortunate enough to get the DK64 bundle with the expansion pack. You know, the cool green one. And dude, I was in love. DK64 remains one of my all-time favorite games because of this. It blew me away so freaking much, even more than Super Mario 64, a game I also had. But yeah, dude, where the 64 shined was the multiplayer. I can't tell you how many nights my family and I would spend playing Banjo-Tooie, WWF No Mercy, Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, and no, I actually didn't own that one. It hurts me every day. I also had these weird ones like Quest 64 and this game called Robotron 64. Do you guys know about this? I don't know why, but it just felt like growing up I was the only one who had these games, but I'm sure that's totally wrong. Like I said, it's a console I'll always love, but I can't say it's my favorite because it's purely memory, and it just did not age good with me. Nowadays, I never want to play it because of the terrible controller, and a lot of the games are just not pleasing to look at. But again, it has that personal value. Number 4. Xbox. Microsoft's entry to console gaming. I love this thing so much. It was essentially my PS2. My non-Nintendo console I played the most during this era. I never once asked for it, but I got it as a surprise birthday gift one year. Some of my first games were Spider-Man, 007 Nightfire, and a game called Blowout. But my god, this thing had so much of what I wanted in a system. No memory card, so I didn't have to constantly keep up with one, or buy another one if it got lost or corrupted. That happened twice with my PS2, and once with my Gamecube. The thing could also play your music. To you, this might not seem special, but to me, at the time, this was magic. Tony Hawk's Underground, my all-time favorite game I owned for the system, let you play your music in-game. Granted, the music was already great, but I have tons of memories just skating to the first Gorillaz album, and also Hybrid Theory that worked wonders with the game. Because my Xbox could do that for some reason. I have so many favorites on this one, but games like Dead or Alive 3, Crash Nitro Kart, Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, Sonic Mega Collection Plus, Sonic Heroes, Halo 2, Battle for Bikini Bottom, March Madness 2005, goodness, I'm actually still collecting for this console. I picked up Ninja Gaiden the other day to start that series, and Fable as well, since I've never played the first game. But yeah, great console, and the controller was nice too. The smaller one, that is. I missed those black and white buttons. Those were cool. Number 3. Sega Genesis. Ah, finally, we got a retro 2D console. Me being a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, you knew this would be somewhere, and here we are. First off, Sega Genesis is my absolute favorite name for a console. It just sounds so badass. The black, sleek, simplistic look only adds to it. My home did have both the Genesis and Super Nintendo, but everyone in my house mostly played the Genesis. I don't know their reasoning, but I just thought it was the much cooler console. It's probably the reason I prefer Sega IPs to Nintendo today. It had games like Streets of Rage, Comic Zone, Sonic 2, Shinobi 3, Rystar. It was just cool. So cool. And that's the best word to describe it. Sure, the Super Nintendo had more iconic games that you're supposed to think are great, but I'll forever prefer Sega's console in that debate. It was the system that introduced myself and the world to Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, that in itself is a reason for this to be on the list. We had a lot of weird games too, like Cool Spot. I think we had a Taz game for some reason. I'm not sure why Taz or 7-Up even had a video game. Honestly, a lot of things on Genesis were so difficult that I couldn't really beat anything, but it's by far my favorite retro console. Number 2. Nintendo Gamecube. Wow, for a guy who claims he's not a Nintendo fan, he sure does love their consoles. Yes, I did at one point. I like to think that the Gamecube was my grand finale with the company. Sure, I went on to try the newer ones, but this was like their last console with no gimmicks or anything weird. There was plenty of third-party support, and the games were so good. So much nostalgia here. Around the time it was alive, it was so cool to have a Gamecube. I wanted this thing so freaking bad. As a kid, I rent a lot of games. If you guys remember Game Crazy, yeah, I went there a lot. I would always see these cool looking GameCube games on shelf, but I could never play them because I only had a PS2 and Xbox. Games like Melee, Sonic Adventure DX, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, Pikmin, Pokemon Colosseum, Super Mario Sunshine, Paper Mario especially. For some reason I really wanted to play that one as a kid, and have still never played it. Don't know why. But after only getting to play it at a friend's house, I finally got my own one Christmas along with Mario Party 7. And good freaking lord, it was so fun! Why is Mario Party 7 like the greatest party game ever made? Why is Mario Party 7 like the greatest party game ever made, dude? Like, who thinks to make something that good? Sadly, I didn't have a memory card right away. It took a few weeks for that, but replaying Mario Party 7 countless times to re-unlock everything was great. As my collection grew, so did my love for the console. I don't even have to go into both Sonic Adventure games, but Super Smash Bros. Melee. Guys, before Melee, I've never played Smash. All I knew about it was Melee's box art I kept seeing in stores, and I saw a friend play it for like 3 minutes. I have never in my life fell in love with the game so fast. It was so freaking new to me, and still remains my favorite non-Sonic game of all time. Like you'd expect, the GameCube was also responsible for me gaining my admiration for the Sonic series. It was the Friends era, or the 3D era of Sonic, which I can talk about for days. Easily the peak of my Sonic interest, with games like Jim's Collection, Shadow, and Riders only adding to that. Yeah, it's pretty weird I didn't own Heroes on GameCube like everyone else, but I'll always dub the GameCube as the console that made me love the series. Even the console itself was great. The whole cube gimmick, smaller CDs, weird but very comfortable controller that's pretty much iconic at this point. It had so much style and I loved it. I can talk about the GameCube for hours, and it's absolutely my second favorite console of all time. Number 1. Xbox 360. I wonder if I'm gonna catch heat for this. Xbox and Microsoft in general have a pretty negative aura around them, especially after the reveal of the Xbox One, a console I don't really care for, but one thing they did nail right was the 360. Which is, in my opinion, very controversial statement, one of the greatest gaming consoles ever made, period. I put it alongside the PS3, somewhere in the top 2. One of those two consoles, in my opinion, are the best of all time, easily. Generation 7 was just all around fantastic. I didn't like the Wii, but I can't deny how revolutionary and game-changing it was. It practically inspired Xbox to get avatars, and PlayStation to try a motion gimmick as well. If you had a PS3, everything I'm about to say could apply to you, since the games and features were pretty similar. I just didn't own a PS3, so it's not on my list. So yeah, you know my love for the original Xbox, now put that in HD, at the greatest online service possible for the time, downloadable games, make it so where you can play your music at any time, a crazy good dashboard, backwards compatibility, and the greatest controller ever made. Do all that and you easily get my favorite console. I cannot explain how cool it was to own a 360 during the time, at least in my age group. You know, before the dashboard got stupid. Yeah, it was insane. If you didn't have one, you were slacking, because that's where everyone was. Online parties while playing Halo 3 was just something you did. There was so much build up before getting it. I'd get like small teases at other people's houses, but never my own. I need a HD console so bad, I need it to see those graphics. In fact, my first time ever playing an Xbox 360 or a PS3 was Sonic 06. Yeah, for some reason everyone I knew who had a next-gen console had 06, and we'd play multiplayer way more than we needed to. The excitement I had when I finally got one was massive. My first games were the Forza 2 and Ultimate Alliance bundle, Dead or Alive 4, shocker, and that NBA game. So yeah, I got mine in like 2007, so a lot of great titles were already out at the time. I just had to get the new Halo, obviously I had to get Sonic, and that Fusion Frenzy game was pretty fun at my friend's house, so I'll pick that up as well. Never did. Should probably do that one day. Outside of the games themselves, the 360 was just an experience for me. The concept of a marketplace was so cool. The system having demos of games I've never heard of ready to play. The idea of having friends on the console was new to me. It felt like a gaming Facebook or something. It was weird, but very addicting. It only got better as time went on. The introduction of avatars was great, gave each user a bit of a personality. They all looked a hell of a lot better than the Mii's. More games started appearing on the marketplace. Freaking SA2 was available to download. My god. The marketplace had tons of gems too. Remember that Scott Pilgrim game? That thing was crazy. Apps like YouTube started making its way on. I barely touched on the games. My 360 has the largest number of my favorite games, or games I just like in general. On one system I can play Halo 3 ODST, Modern Warfare 2, Bioshock, damn near all of the Dead or Alive games, a large chunk of the Sonic games, SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, Fable 2, Gears of War 2, Oblivion, GTA 5, Saints Row, Tomb Raider, and so much more. Now, it's not a perfect system, the online is definitely expensive, and early versions of the consoles crashed. Like, a lot. Fortunately, I'm still rocking with my original white model. It's going strong. And the console had less exclusives than its competitors. I'm guessing these are the reasons it's not as praised in the gaming world. That and it's Xbox, so it obviously gets hate. The 360 was something to behold for its time, as I have so many good memories attached to it. If you remember those days, you know what I'm talking about. I still play it quite a bit since the Xbox One doesn't support many 360 games at the moment, and I also like not having to install a game once I buy it. Current gen kinda sucks for that. And yeah, that's it. Hope there's not too many debates in the comments, since you're listening to the opinions of a Sonic fan who's been so out of touch with gaming as of recent. It really does pain me that I missed out on a ton of Sony exclusives growing up, but my parents always bought me Xbox and Nintendo consoles, so it was pretty difficult to get my hands on them. Who knows, maybe one day I'll get to try the Uncharted series, or Horizon Zero Dawn, a game I was really hyped for. But let me know your top 10 or top 5 if it's too difficult, because believe me, it wasn't easy making this. I'm Steven Ux, and I will definitely talk to you all later.